Oh. Hi everybody, it's me, Matt Hurst, aka the Brew Noob, joining you this time from Periscope for another Tallboy Thursdays. And today I'm going to be drinking Labatt Blue. Hopefully, if you're following Brew Noob on Twitter, you've already got the memo. I hope you'll join us today as we drink a Tallboy can of one of the top-selling Canadian beers, Labatt Blue. So hopefully you've got your can too. If you've been following us on Twitter, you know all about Tallboy Thursdays. Every Thursday we meet and drink a tall boy of beer. This week we're going to drink one of Canada's finest. All right. So cheers to tasty beers out there. Now, technically, we've had quite a few lagers here, but this is the first Pilsner we've drank. This is, I think, it's the fourth or the fifth episode of Tallboy Thursdays. We took last week off, and this is our first from Canada. So, unfortunately, some of you guessed which beer we were drinking this week. It was not going to be Molson. I've had trouble finding Molson outside of Canada in Tallboy form factor. So let me know. Keep your eyes peeled. Maybe we'll do that for a future episode. But let me know what beers you think you want to drink next too. But our first Pilsner. You can tell right away too because it's a little bit drier. Yeah, so far we've been sticking with lager beers, but this has that distinctive Pilsnery taste, even if it's a little bit watered down. There's also Labatt Blue Light, which was an option, but that's a little bit less common to find. Labatt is still pretty popular in some parts of the United States, mostly those close to Canada, so there's always that. And if you have any questions about Labatt or Tallboys or just a comment, go ahead and leave a question there. I'll do my best to answer. I've done a little bit of research for this, so we can talk more about it. Yeah. So this is, as you can see again, we've got another 24 ouncer this week. Not a lot of 16-ounce Tallboys out there, but Labatt definitely, it's actually more common, I've found, to find this in Tallboys than in regular cans, at least in the United States. And in a second, I'm going to tell you a little bit of why. So, cheers. And like I said, if you have questions about this, please feel free to leave a comment. I'm only going to do this as long as you guys are watching, so... in fact, I may not even finish the whole beer. I'm notorious for being one of the slower drinkers out there, but let me tell you a little bit about why it's more common to find these in 24 ounce than in cans. And the main thing is because of how it's distributed. Labatt, unlike a lot of other of these imported beers in the United States, actually owns their own distribution here in the United States. Now, that may sound surprising because you might think, well, Matt, there are lots of imported beers all throughout the U.S., like, Tecate and, several others might pop into your mind. But actually, a lot of those, even if they're not brewed or owned by the three big brewers in the world, they are distributed in the U.S. by them. But Labatt, because of its, excuse me, oof, Molson is actually a good example of this. Molson is owned by Miller Coors. Excuse me. This is the broadcast where we burp a lot, right? If you're burping, leave a burp comment. Why not? You could do that. Yeah. So Molson, as part of Miller Coors, is distributed by Miller Coors. Labatt is among rarity in this sort of macro group category. Is somewhat privately owned. As far as I've learned, if I'm wrong, let me know. I know you're going to let me know on Twitter after this, but to my knowledge, is independently owned. They own their own distributor. Their distributor is based right across the border in beautiful Buffalo, New York. And that's probably how it ended up in my local New York bodega. So cheers to local ownership, even of big macro brews. Now, in past episodes, we talked a lot about how branding plays a big role in Tallboys, so I want to talk a little bit about that. First thing you'll note is this is a very simple, straightforward design. Very large, though. Definitely eye-catching. The can itself has that beautiful metallic finish. Obviously, you have the maple leaf used in a lot of Canadian beer brands, but reminding you that it is a product. And actually, this is unique to the U.S. can. If you are a Canadian beer drinker watching, you'll note that on the outside it says imported daily from Canada. And so literally there's a truck going down from Toronto or wherever they're based in Ontario to Buffalo, New York from their brewing plants and canned right here in the United States, because that's a technical thing. But technically the beer's imported. The Tall Boy, not so much. This is definitely an American crowd-pleasing beer, right? As such, because of that transport there, no preservatives. You could say that about a lot of beers, but they're leaving out one really important preservative, and that's, of course, hops, a natural preservative. I think what they mean to point out here is that because of the tight shipment and control of it, this is a beer, and again, they're all canned, would survive longer without any extra, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, preservatives, but I think what they actually mean is more along the lines of, I'm drawing a blank, maybe I've had too much to drink already, the pasteurization, which is much more common to the other lagers that we typically find when we're doing this, right? However, you'll actually note, even though it's specifically canned for the U.S., they do want to emphasize their importness by having words like beer Canadienne. So they want you to be thinking about this as a French-Canadian beer. With a name like Labatt, that's possible, but as far as I can tell, this is a Toronto-based beer company. I don't know. It's, again, part of the cultural milieu of, French word, of, milieu? Don't worry about it. Of, having everything in English and French throughout Canada. Very exciting. And as I said earlier, it all comes together in a standard 24-ounce can, probably made by Ball. We're going to look for that mark here, too. They usually are. Union-made. A union-made canning facility. That's always fun. You know what? There's the Ball logo. Real tiny. If you're drinking the same beer, you'll probably find it right next to the UPC. The other thing that's nice is, similar to some of the quote-unquote traditional beers here in the U.S., you'll have the signature of the patriarch of the Labatt family, which, of course, their namesake John Labatt right there. Pretty simple. Lots of elements to tie you into the idea of, tradition and Canadian beer. And it's a very pleasing, eye-catching can, so that's something you can really learn a lot about branding by looking at the cans and what they think will stand out on the shelf, because that's really how tall boys are made. You got to stand out. You got to you have to do something to make people pick you over all the others. It's a little harder than what's available on bottled and larger packaged beers. Well, and I see that some of you who want to join us unfortunately can't. It's happy hour here in the U.S. Or, at least on the East Coast, it's happy hour. Happy hour in the Central Time Zone. And we're hoping to catch a few of you guys who are still stuck at work. Sorry. Cheers to you as soon as you get off. Why not? Pick one of these up. They might be a little harder to find further from Buffalo, New York, but we'll see. Anyway, we will try to put this up later after the fact, but that's pretty much Labatt Blue. It's, I'd love to pour it out. I did pour one out earlier. It's pretty classic pale lager color, but